Part 21. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 204. Chin Kiwei turned his head and saw Gucci putting on new white gloves. He thought about it, walked over and asked, "How did you do that just now?" It was obvious that there was still a long distance away from the Japanese leader, but Gucci was able to interrupt the spell casting just by standing there. Seeing Chin Chi talking to him so calmly for the first time, Gucci tilted his head slightly, with purple light flowing in his eyes under his sunglasses. A professional talent can make people lose consciousness for a few seconds. The most important thing for a magician who casts spells is the concentration of willpower, and considering this professional talent, which seems to have little effect in ordinary times, it just restrains the lifeblood of the mage. Chin Chi glanced at Gucci, but the pair of sunglasses blocked all his eyes. Why does he always wear sunglasses? A trace of doubt flashed in Chin Chi's mind. Just now he seemed to have caught a glimpse of Gucci taking off his sunglasses and glancing at the Japanese leader. Is his profession related to eyes? After asking such a question, Chin Chi didn't speak anymore even though he was still confused. The four of them stopped for a while, picked up the game items scattered on the ground, and rushed towards the amusement park. After walking 2 streets, the gate of the amusement park is in front of you. But at this time, some people appeared one after another from every corner. There were dozens of people in total. They surrounded the door tightly, making it impossible for the 4 people to pass. "Hey, isn't this Gujuyi?" The crowd dispersed, and a short man less than 1.6 meters tall walked out. As soon as this person came out, he looked at Gucci and the others with some kind of teasing in their eyes. "Tisk, tisk, tisk, when did the famous Gujuyi become so depressed? There are only 3 people around here? Huh? Why don't you see them? That Chi, who is that Chi? Good dog, stay out of the way. Get out." Gucci raised his lips coldly, his tone cold. Having said this, Sutingyu came to his senses when he saw the delicate relationship between the 2 parties that they were familiar with but disliked each other. This person, no, this large group of people was probably Gucci. Which rival alliance it is? The short man felt like he had been stabbed in a sore spot by such a rebuke, and his face suddenly turned ugly. "Gucci, I rode on the horse to give you face, so I called you Master Jew. Don't be ungrateful. Gucci, trash. You ride on the horse." The short man became more and more arrogant, pointing at Gucci's nose and yelling curses. But before he could finish his harsh words, he suddenly received a heavy blow to the abdomen. Then the whole person flew out. Brother Zhu, are you okay?" The younger brothers behind him quickly stretched out their hands to help the person up. Gucci retracted his right leg with a calm expression. After kicking the person away, the air within 2 meters around him became much better. "Please let me." "Who are you?" "AHH." At this time, there was a commotion from the gate. In just 10 seconds, there were screams one after another. The blocked door was opened from the inside by another group of people, and they quickly subdued the short man and the others one by one. The leader of this group of people was none other than Chibubi. "Master, I'm late." Chibubi bowed slightly, with a hint of guilt in his tone. Gucci replied calmly, "It's not too late, it's just right." Gucci's eyes fell on the short man. He has been controlled on the ground by 2 members of the gang, one on the right and one on the left. He was so arrogant before, but now he is so timid. Gucci stepped forward and stepped on the hand that had just pointed at him. "Ah!" Gucci slowly trampled the short man's fingers back and forth. His tone was calm, and he said word for word, "Go back and tell your dog owner that if you are too busy, I will find something for him to do when you return to reality." Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 205. Gucci moved his legs, turned around and said to Chibubi, "The points and heads that were delivered to the door are divided among everyone. Yes, Chibubi agreed and then made a gesture. Therefore, the members of Scene took away the doll bodies carried by these players. Each doll body was destroyed by one person. Each person only destroyed one doll body. After gaining points, they voluntarily stopped. After all the doll bodies are destroyed, these players will be killed, and the game items that explode will be picked up by the remaining criminal members who have not received points. Finally, all these people left, leaving only the short man lying on the ground shivering. After making sure that Gucci and others had completely left, the short man got up from the ground and staggered into the playground. Children's in center large playground, broadcasting room. The door of the broadcast room was closed tightly, and there were hundreds of players outside on guard everywhere. In the broadcast room, there were 3 male players standing on both sides of the door. A little further inside, a short man was lowering his head and reporting to the only man sitting in front of him what had just happened in front of the gate of the playground. The man had his eyes closed, as if he was asleep. Beside him, there were 2 male players standing. Did he really say that? After listening to the short man's embellished report, the man who closed his eyes to rest slowly opened his eyes. These are Gucci's exact words. That man is so arrogant and domineering. He is so arrogant. Moreover, dozens of brothers' lives were lost like this. Gucci is completely against you, Mr. Xiao, the short man said. His face was filled with resentment, and when he said the last sentence, there was a hint of gunpowder that could lead to a fight. The man stood up, moved his arms, and asked in a calm tone, "It's so weird, when did he stop going against me?" This. The short man was speechless for a moment, but he thought of his destroyed doll body and asked with some uneasiness, "Master Xiao, my doll body was destroyed, what should I do now? What should I do? Just commit suicide?" The man's tone was casual, as if he was talking about today's weather. The short man's expression was dull for a moment, and his legs suddenly became weak and he fell to the ground. "No, Mr. Xiao, are you joking? Please stop joking." The man turned around and looked down at the short man condescendingly. The corner of his mouth raised a slight evil smile, and his tone slowed down, like a devil's whisper, "Believe it or not, once the vacuum period is over, they were torn apart by hundreds of child NPCs, sewn into dolls, and then torn apart again. No. Impossible, it won't happen." Just listening to the short man's scalp felt numb, and he shook his head in fear. "Throw the person out." Seeing the embarrassed and timid look of the short man, a trace of disgust flashed in the man's eyes, and his tone returned to calmness, "Remember to throw him away." Yes, 2 male players standing at the door stepped out, one on each side, and dragged the short man out of the broadcast room. "Master Xiao? Master Xiao? Help me! Help me! You must have a way, right? You must have it," the short man roared, struggling with his hands and feet, but to no avail. Eventually, the little man's voice gradually disappeared into the broadcast room. After throwing out the extra waste, the man asked about the business, "Have you checked the information about the 3 new players around you?" Of the 2 male players who were originally standing next to the man, one of them wearing glasses slowly spoke. "Among the 3 players, there is a player named Qin Chi, who is the first batch of LV6 players. As early as 2 months ago, I met him in a dungeon. He is very strong and his main weapon is an ancient bronze sword, suspected to be a professional player. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 206. You became a professional gamer 2 months ago. The man's eyes gradually became serious. Has he ever joined an alliance or team before? The bespectacled subordinate said, he seems to be a lone player who only occasionally has in-game transactions with the second-in-command of the Raging Waves Alliance. The man said solemnly, after this round of copies is over, find out this person's identity in reality as soon as possible. Master, do you want to win over Qin Chi? His subordinate asked. What else? A powerful professional player must not be taken care of. The man took out a cigarette from the inventory. He shook it a few times, and the cigarette spontaneously ignited without fire. The other two, where are the players? The other two are named Angel Su and Zhuanese Chuangbei. They are not famous. They may be new players. Their strength and level are not yet clear. Well, let's focus on Qin Chi. The man watched the cigarette burning between his fingers, but did not put it in his mouth to smoke. So far, is there any information about the tokens in this round of dungeons? Not yet, and there is no news from other alliances. The site that Seeing occupied in the amusement park was a video game mall. After arriving, all the ordinary members of Seeing left and returned to their corresponding positions of responsibility. Sir, it's already the 8th day of the dungeon, and we still haven't found any clues about the tokens. Chibubi bowed slightly, his tone a little ashamed. According to the practice of past event dungeons, tokens should have appeared long ago. But it's already the 8th day of the dungeon, and it's a bit weird that the tokens of this round of event dungeons haven't been exposed yet. Gucci, we can't find it, and neither can anyone else. There are still 2 days left, so everyone down there should pay attention. I've told them beforehand. By the way, Master, you guys are a little late this time. What happened to you? Chibubi asked. It's okay, some overestimating rubbish has been solved. Then please rest for a while, then call me if you need anything. The words of the two people did not prevent Sutingyu and the others, so the latter heard them all. Qin Chi had also mentioned the token thing before, and Sutingyu and Fatty didn't know anything about it. After Chibubi left, Sutingyu asked aloud, Guju, are those people from other alliances? If Seeing kills dozens of them at once, that alliance will come to find trouble, right? When Sutingyu asked this question, he thought of the difficult opponent and frowned slightly. Those people are just peripheral members of the Killing Alliance. To put it simply, they are just cannon fodder. The implication is, it's just that the probability of being picked on is low. The person in charge of the assassination is Xiao Si, the person in charge of the Xiao family in the capital city in reality. This person is moody, sinister, and will do anything to achieve his goals. Gucci rarely said a lot of bad things about Xiao Si. The more Sutingyu listened, the more he felt something was wrong. There is something I don't know whether to say or not. Why does it feel like Guju is complaining about himself? Xiao Si has a hobby. Any peripheral member who wants to officially join the assassination team must complete a task he randomly sends out. The difficulty varies. If he can complete it, he can become a formal member. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes. So, the reason why those people blocked the powerful person at the door just now was because of a mission that Xiao Si casually mentioned. Such a child's play. And Sutingyu glanced at Gujuyu, who had an indifferent face and exuded royal contempt. No matter how you look at it, it all looks like a mission that involves sending someone 1,000 miles away and delivering warmth through a copy. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 207. Anyway, be careful, Xiao Si may have noticed you and become interested in you after talking a lot. Gu changed the topic and warned the three of them. Sutingyu, Why did he suddenly talk about himself? We were implicated by you. Qin Chi, who had been silent all the way, suddenly spoke and looked directly at Gucci. Because of these words, Sutingyu and Fatty felt inexplicably that the originally friendly atmosphere suddenly stagnated. Gucci remained expressionless, a pair of sunglasses covering his eyes, making it difficult to understand what he was thinking at this moment. Yes. A few seconds later, Gucci admitted directly without any roundabout explanation. Then what? Gucci asked back, spreading his hands and shrugging, his tone frivolous. Do you need me to apologize? Child. Qin-Chi's face suddenly darkened, obviously dissatisfied with Gucci calling him a child. Ahem, let me interrupt. Sutingyu forced himself to interrupt the delicate atmosphere between the two. There was nothing she could do, it was just her and the fat man here. The fat man was so cowardly that he didn't dare to say anything now. The burden of breaking up the fight was placed on Sutingyu. As soon as Sutingyu opened her mouth, both of them turned to look at her at the same time. That's Xiao Si. Sutingyu looked directly at the two of them, paused for 2 seconds, and naturally remembered what he wanted to say, so he spoke quickly and smoothly. Xiao Si, he is from the Xiao family in Kyoto. The person in power is different from Li Ji. Maybe it is easier for him to find out our true information in reality. Guju, you are also a big boss in the top circle of Kyoto's elite. Do you have a way to prevent Xiao Si from finding out our identities? After all, we are also temporary members of Scene now, and we have broken through most of the dungeon together. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes and said a lot of things in an angry voice. Most of them were actually explained to Qin-Chi. Although Qin-Chi just asked that question, Sutingyu couldn't react and thought Qin-Chi simply couldn't help but want to quarrel with Gucci. Only Sutingyu and Fatty knew about Qin-Chi's situation in reality. If Xiao Si finds out Qin-Chi's real identity and conducts further investigation, he might discover Qin-Chi's current physical condition. A LV6 player in the game is very capable, but in reality he is a useless person and cannot fully take care of himself. What would a shrewd and insidious superior like Xiao Si think of immediately? Sutingyu didn't want to guess the worst answer. She wouldn't let that happen to Qin-Chi. You also said that they are only temporary members. I have a way, but why bother to provide security for 3 temporary members who can leave at any time? Gucci sat on a gaming chair with an indifferent expression. It seemed that in an instant, the cold-faced and ruthless Guju came back again. The previous nagging and approachability were all just illusory illusions, like the moon in the mirror. After this round of dungeons is over, I will leave naturally, and I don't need your charity. Qin-Chi's eyes were slightly cold, and after saying these words, she turned around and left the game hall. The fat man looked left and right, a little embarrassed, whether he should go out with Brother Qin, but the boss and the boss were still here. Okay, let's join. Sutingyu waited for Qin-Chi to leave before speaking. Gucci, 2 people. 3 before Gucci could ask again, Sutingyu explained, I can make the decision, and I hope Guju can do what he says when the time comes. Of course, Gucci replied calmly. But no one could see that under the sunglasses, Gucci's lavender eyes were shining with a trace of ripples. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 208. After Sutingyu left the game hall, he saw a member of Scene and asked, have you seen Qin-Chi? After going around several times, Sutingyu found Qin-Chi in the corner of a claw machine game room. There was a half-meter wide floor between the 2 claw machines, and Qin-Chi huddled inside, holding her knees with her hands, her head resting on her knees. Her face seemed a little pale. Qin-Chi, Sutingyu also squatted down, stretched out his little hand, and gently stroked Qin-Chi's head. Qin-Chi turned his head and glanced at Sutingyu, then continued to lower his head. Sutingyu suddenly noticed from the corner of his eye that the fingers of Qin-Chi's hands were trembling slightly, but the expression on the latter's face was unresponsive and very calm. It's okay, Fatty and I are here. Sutingyu understood what Qin-Chi was worried about, and felt a little sorry for Qin-Chi. Her mood also became depressed, and she even resented Gucci. As for Xiao Si, whom he had never met before, Sutingyu made a big cross in his heart and wrote it down in his notebook. Qin-Chi said one word, but there was no follow-up and he lowered his head again. Kikai, can you trust me again? Sutingyu asked sincerely. Qin Shi was slightly startled. He remembered when Big Fish said the sentence before. Later, he was taken out and finally able to leave there. Big Fish didn't lie to him. At this time, Sutingyu noticed that Qin Shi's mental state seemed to be gradually improving, and continued, "Kikai, don't be afraid, the big fish will protect Kikai, trust the big fish, okay?" Qin Kicking blinked his eyes, and a little light seemed to condense inside them. "Yeah. Then let's go out first." Stop losing your temper. Hashtag Pan, I don't have him. Sutingyu really wanted to slap herself to death. What are you doing? Do you have to add the last sentence? This person was so hard to coax. I have to finish it even if I kneel down. It took Sutingyu twice as long to slowly coax the person back to comfort. Just as Sutingyu took Qin Shi out of the game room, their panels popped up. The following changes will be made in the fourth round of hunting, please be prepared. The fourth round of hunting points system, 1 doll body, 100 points. After the start of the fourth round, all players will return to their original bodies, but they need to carry their doll bodies with them. The second of the two changed rules directly shocked all players. Restore the main body and break into the copy? Could such a good thing happen? But at this time, the surroundings suddenly became dark. The players outside looked up at the sky blankly, but were shocked to find that the sun was slowly disappearing. At this moment, the closed panel popped up again. Attention, players, the number of players in this round of dungeons has been reduced to 4,961, and the hidden plot, Bloody Childhood, was successfully triggered. Hidden plot, Bloody Childhood. Background content, poverty, war, disaster, discrimination, many sufferings have inflicted on the world, and children are not immune. But angel-like child, you were born into this world so innocently, beautifully, and cleanly, with more beautiful things are waiting for you ahead, but why has your age stayed at that year forever? Hidden tasks, 1. Survive until the end of the dungeon, 2. Find or get the gifts prepared by the children before the dungeon ends, 3. Become a good person recognized by the children, 4. Heal the inner pain of the children, at least complete a task. Task conditions, it is not allowed to harm the children by any means or in any way. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 209. In the playground. The 4,961 surviving players simultaneously received the announcement that the hidden plot was opening, and they were all shocked. The condition for opening the hidden plot this time is that the number of players survivors must be reduced to a certain number before it can be opened. This first ever triggering mechanism surprised everyone. Assuming that until the end of the dungeon, the number of surviving players is higher than 4,961, then the hidden plot of this round of dungeons will not be revealed. At this time, the sun in Tongzhen Amusement City has disappeared. The sky became dark, and darkness gradually enveloped the entire empty city. There was no light in the city, and all circuits and electrical equipment failed in an instant. The whole city seemed to be pulled into an abyss of hell. The night wind was bleak and whistling, as if countless homeless souls were wailing and crying in low voices. Because it suddenly became dark, the players in the amusement park felt very uncomfortable for a while. But slowly, the players discovered that although it was dark and there was no artificial light source, they could still see the surroundings clearly with the naked eye, but they were not as clear as during the day. This phenomenon is like the players' eyes have already adapted to the darkness, and they can see everything in the darkness clearly even if there is no light source. Outside the game room, Sutingyu remembered that he had a large camping bag, so he took it out from the inventory and found 2 flashlights inside. Snap! Sutingyu handed one to Qin Shi, and then the two of them turned on the flashlight switch, and the light came out. These two flashlights were not affected because they were game items, right? Sotinyu turned to look at Qinchi. The two of them had just tried all the electrical equipment in the game room, but they seemed to have malfunctioned or crashed, with no response. Qinchi, it should be. Let's go find the fat man first. On the way to find the fat man, the two happened to run into Chibubi. When Chibubi saw the two of them, a smile appeared on his face. I was just going to find you. What's wrong? Sotinyu asked. Chibubi, because of the panel announcement, we now need to summon the core Seeing members to have a small meeting. You two are Seeing's distinguished guests, so I'm here to invite you two to attend. Fat man is here too. Yes. Sotinyu nodded, then asked Assistant Chi to lead the way. Please follow me. Sotinyu and the other three came to a small room. On the conference table in the middle, there were 4 flashlights placed vertically. The light shone on the white ceiling, lighting up the entire room a few degrees. There were already several people in the room. In addition to Gucci and Fatty, there were also 2 other strange male players. Seeing everyone gathered, Gucci said, "Inform all members of the gang that during the 4th round of hunting time, only the doll body is allowed to be destroyed and killing is strictly prohibited. The gifts mentioned in the second hidden plot mission are probably tokens. From now on, pay more attention to items related to children. After the vacuum period is over, the 3 of you will each lead a team and leave the amusement park, and then meet at the hotel, the meeting point of the previous vacuum period." While Sotinyu listened, he looked at the 2 players with his eyes. Just looking at appearance and temperament, there is a big difference between a wild and reckless man and a weak scholar. After Gucci finished speaking, the slightly rough-looking male player among them turned his head and glanced at Sotinyu and the others, pointed his thumb at the 3 of them, and asked, "Sir, who are these 3? After he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room seemed to be a little stagnant. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 210. The 3 of them are all guests of Seeing. After this round of dungeon ends, they will officially join Seeing. Chibubi coughed lightly, explained to the 2 of them aloud, and then turned to introduce to Sotinyu and the others. The 2 of them went on a mission before, and they just came back now, so they haven't seen you. Seeing this, the 2 people looked at each other, feeling a little confused. Isn't Brother Chi always the most disciplined? Why have you learned to interrupt now? However, seeing that Gucci had no reaction, the 2 of them could only suppress the surprise in their eyes. The rough man who originally asked the question turned to Sotinyu, grinned his big white teeth, and said hello in a familiar manner. "Hello, welcome to join Seeing." The frail and delicate-looking male player glanced at the 3 of them, nodded slightly, and then looked away. "Thank you for the welcome, we will be colleagues from now on," Sotinyu responded with a smile. At this time, Qinchi next to her tugged at the corner of her clothes. Sotinyu turned her head and met Qinchi's somewhat doubtful eyes. Qinchi stared at her. "What official member?" "Ahem, as long as you go out for a while, I agree," Sotinyu whispered. 4. Before Qinchi could finish his accusation, Sotinyu blinked and asked, "Who said you should believe me?" Huh. Qinchi was speechless for a moment. But the more he thought about it, the more awkward he felt. He obviously promised not to join, but now. "You 2 go down first at this time," Gucci spoke. "Okay, master." The 2 of them responded in unison, stood up from their seats, and walked towards the door. Just by chance, Sotinyu and the others were standing at the edge of the door. As they passed each other, Sotinyu checked their game nicknames. Teammates are all humans and machines. Sad potato. The nicknames of these 2 games are also very familiar, and they usually remain in the top 50 of the hunting list. Considering that this is the core member of Seeing, it seems not surprising that he can have this ranking. After the 2 men went out, they closed the door. After walking a few steps, the wild man finally couldn't help but said, there are 2 of them who are in the top 10 ruthless people. Where did you find these high-ranking players? Brother Chi should know better. Then ask after the dungeon is over. In the room. Gucci turned his head and looked at Sutingyu. The hidden plot has appeared. What do you think? Hearing this, Sutingyu blinked. What do you think? You just said everything you could say. Gucci, hidden mission 3 in the plot, look at the progress bar. Huh? Progress. Sutingyu, while wondering what Gucci said, opened the panel and clicked on task 3. Progress of mission 3, 50%. Sutingyu, what the hell is this? She doesn't seem to have done anything, right? Why is it only half done? The progress bar shows 50%. Do you do the same? Sutingyu blinked his big innocent eyes. Sutingyu asked around, but the progress bars of the other people all showed 0. What's going on? Is she the only one doing something special? It should be the 50% progress you made by fooling the kids before. Gucci gave the answer. Hey, can it be like this? Sutingyu looked shocked. What kind of benefit could there be from fooling a child? Sutingyu couldn't help but wonder, if she had chosen a more educational approach at that time, would she have made the current progress? There should be more, right? Now that you have half of the children's approval, think about it carefully. Have any children given you any gifts? Gift? Sutingyu thought about it carefully. How could there be any gift? When she saw the child, she was either on the way or touching the corpse. Could it be that those corpses were gifts? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Kei. Chapter 211. No. In the end, Sutingyu gave a very decisive answer. Master, there are still 3 minutes left in the vacuum period at this time, Chibubi reminded. Yes, Gucci stood up and said, it's almost time. You guys should go downstairs to gather. That's okay. Sutingyu nodded, took Chin-Chi's hand, and then waved to the fat man, let's go, fat man. Oh. Because there was no electricity, the elevator could not be used, so the 3 of them took the stairs down. In a large open space outside the video game mall, about 100 criminal members gathered, each divided into 4 teams. Sutingyu saw the 2 core members in the room before. They were both leaders of a team. Then, the leaders of the remaining 2 teams are probably Gucci and Chibubi. The 3 of them stood casually behind a team. The other criminal members around them also recognized the 3 of them, and some even said hello briefly. Looking outside, we can already see that the playground has become more chaotic today. But now, all players still worry that this is a vacuum period. But once the vacuum period ends, the entire amusement park and even the entire childlike amusement city will be in chaos. Sutingyu turned to Fatty and said, Fatty, follow me later. Okay, boss. Sutingyu turned around again and saw Chin-Chi still looking gloomy. Kikai. Sutingyu blinked and responded, it shouldn't be a big problem. I'm good at making decisions. Is Kikai angry? Sutingyu leaned her head closer and asked. I'm not angry, I just hate that Gucci and don't want to be with him. Chin-Chi lowered his head and said hesitantly. Kikai, think about it, we are just using him and letting Gucci block that Xiao Si in front, right? Chin-Chi looked slightly startled. He turned his head and looked at Sutingyu in confusion. Sutingyu continued to help Chin-Chi understand, besides, we only join seeing, and you can quit if you can join, right? Besides, you won't have to enter the same dungeon with Gucci every day in the future, right? Yet Chin-Chi thought for a while and felt that what Big Fish said made sense. Since that guy is moody, just ignore him from Kikai on, okay? Good. Gucci is a big bad guy. Right. Gucci, who had no idea that he had become the big bad guy. After confirming the next dungeon operations with Chibubi, he was about to stand up when he heard the latter tentatively ask. "Master, are you having a conflict with Chin Kishio?" Gucci immediately denied, "No." Chibubi sighed slightly, but Chin Kishio seems to be even more resistant to punishment. When Chibubi found Sutingyu and Chin Chi, he could tell that Chin Chi seemed to be a little disgusted with him. As for the reason, Chibubi could be sure after thinking about it for a moment. The reason must have happened to his father, and he himself was probably innocently implicated. No matter how much he resisted, he still joined in the punishment, Gucci said calmly. Gucci didn't think there was anything wrong with what he did. The process is not important, as long as the result satisfies him. Hearing this, Chibubi didn't know what to say. According to the results of the previous discussion between the two, regardless of whether Chin Chi cared about the person he was looking for, there was no harm in letting someone join him in the punishment first and watching under his nose. But now, no matter how Chibubi looked at it, he felt that Chin Kishio had joined reluctantly and might quit at any time. Is this really okay? It's almost time, it's time to go down. Finally, Gucci ended the topic unilaterally. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 212. Sutingyu and the three of them sat in a row on the steps. As soon as he sat down, Sutingyu felt a little bulge in his trouser pocket at the back, as if he had bumped into something. Sutingyu reached out and took out a few candies. "Boss, why do you have candy on you?" "The shape of this candy is quite beautiful, like a little star." The fat man looked at the 4 candies in Sutingyu's hand with some curiosity. "Oh, I remembered. It was given by a very well-behaved and cute little girl." The fat man was stunned for a few seconds, and then he suddenly reacted, "Boss, this was given to you by a child NPC." "Yes, here, do you want some?" Sutingyu spread his hands and motioned for the 2 of them to get candies. Chin Chi was the first to reach out and took one. He lowered his eyes and looked at it twice. "Big fish, is this a gift?" Hearing this, Sutingyu was slightly startled. "Gift? This is a gift? But it looks like it's just an ordinary candy, right?" "And the panel doesn't respond." The fat man picked up a candy, looked at it, and then asked. Sutingyu looked at the 2 candies left in his hand, pondered for a moment, and said, "Maybe it's just an ordinary candy, but it doesn't rule out the possibility that it's a gift. There is also a piece of candy. Let me give it to Gucci. Regardless of whether it is a gift or not, just treat it as a certificate of submission." Sutingyu stood up and blinked at Chin Chi, who was still sitting. "Don't look at me, I have no objection," Chin Chi whispered. Sutingyu couldn't help but chuckle. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Gucci and Chibubi coming out of the corner of his eye. "I'll go over there, you guys wait here." Sutingyu said this and walked towards Gucci with 2 candies. "Guju." When Gucci heard someone calling him, he turned his head and saw Sutingyu throwing a candy. Without thinking much, Gucci reached out to take it and then asked, "Candy? What do you mean?" Sutingyu explained, "I just remembered that a little girl gave me candy before. I don't know if this is considered a gift." At this moment, the vacuum period ended, and all player panels popped up. Happy Children's Day players, please note that the vacuum period is over and the 4th round of hunting begins. I wish you all good luck. The 541st round of hunting time, 2000 hours minus 2020. Hunter player in round 541, won $100 brooch number. The content displayed on the panel seems to have not changed, it is the same as before. But actually, there is no more 10 minutes of preparation time. What happened? No time to prepare? Have you started a new round of hunting now? There were comments from other players that were either shocked or confused. At this time, Sotingu's eyes widened slightly, and his gaze fell on the panel. Her panel has a few more lines than other players. Props, candy wrapped with stars, temporarily unavailable. Grade, none. Function, players carrying this prop will be invited to the Starlight Kingdom as a guest. Usage, disposable. Remarks, good boy, you must know how to share, and the candy will become sweeter. Sotingu blinked his big eyes and poked at the progress bar of the hidden task. At this time, the progress of task 2 had reached 50%. Seeing this, Sotingu put the candy into his pocket with a natural expression, but actually put it in the inventory. When she got the candy before, the panel did not show that it was a game item. Could it be because she had been holding 4 candies at that time and did not share them with others? I have a surprise for you tomorrow. It may be late, but it will definitely happen, okay? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 213. Sotingu turned to look at Gucci, who had also finished reading the content on the panel and secretly put the candies into his inventory. Boss. The fat man's voice came from behind. Sotingu turned around and saw Chin-Chi and Fatty walking over. Chin-Chi's expression was quite calm, but the fat man's expression looked like he was a thief with a guilty conscience. He was simply trying to avoid asking for trouble. But fortunately, everyone's attention was now focused on the content of their respective panels. No one noticed the fat man's weirdness. This vacuum period ended just in time, and all the players' panels jumped out, providing a cover for the 4 of them. Otherwise, if the 4 people's panels suddenly pop up in front of everyone, even if outsiders can't see the content, they might become suspicious. Big fish. Chin-Chi stretched out his hand and pulled off the corner of Sotingu's clothes. Give me back the candy. With that, Chin-Chi handed the star candy in his hand to Sotingu. This is a very rare token, not an ordinary candy. It is impossible for ordinary players to give it away casually. Sotingu reached out and pushed it back. The note says that this candy needs to be shared to be triggered, and this is all given to Chi-Chi. It is Chi-Chi's candy. And Fatty, yours is the same. I'll give it to you. Anyway, I still have one. Sotingu turned to Fatty and said something. Finally, Sotingu looked at Gucci again and smiled slightly. Guju, is this certificate of nomination significant enough? Gucci glanced at Sotingu and said, that's enough. You guys will join me and get ready to leave. Seems other 3 teams have already set off one after another. In the team Gucci is responsible for leading, there are 35 ordinary members of Crossing plus a few Sotingu, for a total of 39 members. At this time, the playground was already filled with panic and chaos. The preparation time was suddenly cancelled and caught off guard, leaving no time for all prey players to hide. Hunter players numbered 1 to 100 took advantage of this opportunity to hunt prey and gain points. Gucci and a group of people gathered together and then left the playground in an orderly manner. I also met several hunter players along the way, but once I saw so many people, I avoided Gucci and others and went to find the next suitable prey. Most hunter players are loners. When faced with a group of dozens of people, even if they are hunter players, they are not willing to waste time. More importantly, all players now carry their doll bodies with them. The prey player cannot directly attack the hunter player body, but can attack the doll body. Once the doll body is destroyed, the hunter player can only be eliminated. Because of this, even if hunter players have an advantage in status, they only dare to hunt lone or lone prey players, and do not dare to provoke groups of dozens of people. They made it out of the amusement park without any danger, but before everyone could breathe a sigh of relief, the situation outside shocked everyone. The gray sky was randomly graffitied with heavy ink. In the past, the lively and prosperous city seemed to have experienced hundreds of years of wind and rain, and the white walls lost their luster and were stained with, there are thick layers of dirt, and there are potholes everywhere on the smooth road. The green trees on both sides of the street have lost their vivid green and become withered and yellow, and some even have only bare trunks left. Look at the sky. That's the blood moon, suddenly, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked up and saw a bloody crescent moon hanging high in the sky above the splash-like night sky.